Do you want to know what really butters my white, slightly overweight homosexual muffin? Do you really want to know what makes my privilege pop? Chelsea Handler. Chelsea Handler is delusional. Chelsea Handler is an annoying stain that you just can't get rid of. And now it seems that Chelsea hates herself so much that she's taken it upon herself to stamp out privilege wherever she sees it. But not just any type of privilege, white privilege, because that's not racist in the slightest. And if I'm sure of anything, it's that Chelsea Handler is not a racist. She even mentioned during an interview with Good Morning America that, "I'm not a racist, I date lots of black people." Long and hard may sum up perfectly Chelsea's personal struggles and conflicts that she's had to go through, but it also sums up what she specifically looks for in a man. What exactly is white privilege? Well, RacialEquityTools.org has a really in-depth definition that I'm excited to share with you. They define white privilege as when US institutions and culture give preferential treatment to people whose ancestors came from Europe over peoples whose ancestors are from the Americas, Africa, Asia and the Arab world, and exempt European Americans, white people, from the forms of racial and national oppression inflicted upon peoples from the Americas, Africa, Asia and the Arab world. This web of institutional and cultural preferential treatment and exemption from racial and national oppression is called white privilege. In a white supremacy system, white privilege and racial national oppression are two sides of the same coin. Non-ruling class white people are both oppressed and privileged. They are oppressed most significantly on the basis of class, gender and sexual orientation, and also on the basis of religion, culture, ethnicity, age, physical abilities and political expression. At the same time, they are all privileged in relation to peoples of colour. Oof! I feel so much more educated. Not that I wasn't already educated, given that I'm a white male, and that I'm privileged. So what has got Chelsea Handler's muffin buttered the wrong way? Well, Chelsea recently released a thrilling new Netflix documentary showing us how white privilege affects her and how we can be better towards people of colour. She really does take us on a whirlwind tour of how her white privilege and my white privilege and your white privilege is affecting everyday lives. In an interview given to GQ magazine in September 2019, Chelsea explains to us why she decided to make this insightful new documentary. "I think it was just me waking up to the 2016 election and taking a deeper look at myself and the effects of Donald Trump being elected and why something like that would happen. I was kind of stuck in my own naivete of, oh, sexism was over, we were going to elect our first female president. Racism was over when we elected Barack Obama. Just the idealism and the naivete that came along with that, and not knowing more and not being more educated. I was thinking about what I was putting out into the world, and actually doing a really deep dive to understand my own privilege, because I, along with tons of white people, assumed that white privilege was just for a certain section of society, and it's not." Not just a lot of white people, tons of them. In the documentary entitled, "Hello Privilege, It's Me, Chelsea," our saviour and protagonist Chelsea Handler interviews a load of people, including her ex-boyfriend from her younger days, Tyshawn.
I got caught with dime bags on me with my boyfriend Tyshawn 3 times, and every time he was arrested and I was let go. It never occurred to me that it was a racial thing. I should have known better.
Chelsea kindly explains to us that every time she was stopped with Tyshawn by the authorities, it was always her boyfriend, my black boyfriend, Tyshawn, who was getting into trouble, and Chelsea was always let off because privilege. Of course. Tyshawn ended up spending 14 years in prison for armed robbery, while Chelsea, on the other hand, praise Greta, was allowed to roam free and was given a platform to spew her idiotic nonsense and comedy. Was the documentary bad? Well, Chelsea is as woke as they come, and who can argue with her when she has the moral high ground? I'm sure the reviews were exceptional. Please stop. How much more can you contradict yourself? Cringeworthy. A complete waste of time. Wow. Terrible. In the state we are living in right now. Uneducated drivel. Netflix is a propaganda machine. Yawn. Ignorant, idiotic socialist propaganda masquerading as comedy. Not worth the watch. Don't see it. Painful, and not in the good way. Pathetic. Hello, Chelsea. Your documentary sucks. Self-aggrandizing crap. There's an hour and 4 minutes I will never get back. Hello, Tunnel Vision. It's me, Chelsea. Another racist movie from Netflix. Well, Chelsea always wanted to be a star, and now she is a star. Singular. But the most helpful review on IMDb was, in my opinion, this one. As a coloured person in America, I am asking everyone to please stop with all of this. I watched this with my wife and this message is not helpful to anyone. I grew up in a rough neighbourhood that I occasionally go back to and visit family. All of my old friends that are still living in the neighbourhood are still complaining about white privilege and play the victim card on a daily basis. They are mostly in their mid to upper 30s. The few friends that made it out are successful with families and careers, and they never complain, never play the victim card, and focus on becoming better for themselves and their families. Society has come a long way, and if we all stop this nonsense and focus on improving ourselves and being the best we can for society and our families, we will all be better off. Chelsea, direct your energy somewhere more useful than trying to show everyone how you are so compassionate, caring, and woke. Hi. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the inconvenient truth. Chelsea may have a point in that some people's success over others could be attributed to white privilege, especially when you look at past events like slavery, segregation, etc. But huge strides over the past decades have ensured that society now is more colourblind than it has ever been. And it's people like Chelsea who come along with all their wealth, privilege, and stir the pot in exchange for lucrative TV deals and a reason to parade around in front of others and show how woke they are. And what's funny is that some of the more woke publications, not mentioning any names, Vice, have lambasted Chelsea's new attempt at wokeness. If Chelsea Does Racism was the comic's way of dipping her toe into the pool of race relations, Hello Privilege sees her braving the deep end without floaties. The beginning of the film finds Handler at the aforementioned open mic night, which was started for minority students by Jodie Armour, a law professor at the University of Southern California. That night, the topic is white privilege, and Chelsea captures people sharing their thoughts. One audience member says the solution is deeper than a documentary, while another points to the irony of Handler's project. Feel free to edit this out because I'm embarrassed to be here with you, because this is just another example of white privilege, she says. What are you going to do with it other than come into this space and take? By the end of Hello Privilege, Handler seems more mature than the woman who once asked Al Sharpton why she couldn't joke about fried chicken and watermelon. But the story about her grabbing a woman's butt begs the question of what her activism looks like when the cameras aren't rolling. Chelsea Does Racism and Hello Privilege may be respectable first steps, but they aren't enough to excuse Handler's past and present behaviour. Being a white ally to people of colour goes beyond the proverbial invite to the cookout, and dismantling white privilege shouldn't come at the cost of the people of colour around you. Chelsea doesn't seem to be suffering from a nasty case of white privilege, but rather a deep hatred for herself. And now she's trying to guilt-trip anyone who dares be born white. It's a conscious choice that we all make mere seconds after conception. She hates herself so much that she doesn't mind sitting on her massive wealth in Bel Air, one of, if not the most expensive parts of Los Angeles, signing deals for interviews, signing book deals, signing TV deals, and frequently appearing on chat shows. Hey Chelsea, honey, how's that privilege working out for you? An article published in September 2019 by the Washington Examiner says that an audience stares blankly at Handler, which is what you would expect people to do when someone begins an onstage monologue just to alleviate her white guilt. I want to know how to be a better white person to people of colour, she explains, because that doesn't sound condescending at all. In Hello Privilege, It's Me, Chelsea, the comedian and liberal activist attempts to use her cachet to explain why she might not fully deserve her cachet, all the while defending her right to her cachet. It's pretty confusing stuff, but that's how it works when you're a white liberal crushed under too many levels of wokeness. Handler's problem is not that she addresses white privilege, a degree of which certainly exists in America. It's that she frames herself as a sort of emotional philanthropist for doing so, all the while insisting that she's trying to pass the mic. When she appeared on The View, Handler even admitted she was told that making a documentary about white privilege is an example of her privilege. Yes, that is correct, she said. Why then is she still doing it? Handler says she wants to give back. One wonders, though, what exactly she's giving. To all of the critics of the documentary, Handler has a message. You just don't want to recognise your privilege. And a special thank you to all the angry white people who have reached out as well, she tweeted on Friday. It's my privilege to make you mad at a documentary about white privilege. During an interview on CNN, she further politicised her message, finding the pinnacle of white privilege in President Trump, and by extension, the Republican Party. He's a perfect example of white privilege. Let's keep other people down so we keep winning, so I can keep filling my own pockets, she said. He and the Republican Party at this point are all about no one succeeding except for them. Here's a thought. Perhaps Chelsea could make a sizable donation to associations and charities that aim to improve the lives of African Americans and ethnic minorities. Perhaps Chelsea could actually use some of her $40+ million fortune for real change. Perhaps, instead of guilt-tripping others into staying as woke as possible, Chelsea Handler could, retire?